Okay, so welcome everyone to the webinar today, which is top 10 habits to build good credit. And here is our agenda for today. We're going to give you a background on credit. We're going to talk about paying debts late, not paying the minimum due, carrying a balance to build your credit score, keep old credit cards open to maintain the longer history, not monitoring your credit score and report, becoming an authorized user on someone else's credit account, have a variety of credit accounts, avoiding applying for new credit wherever possible, consolidating your debt, getting a secured credit card, and of course, we always have a bonus, how to use good credit to your advantage. So moving on, now I'm going to introduce your presenters for today. The first one is Pierre Tomaszek. Many of you may know him. Pierre has an MBA, a CPM, and CIM. He's first and foremost, he is a father of two beautiful young daughters. He's a certified financial planner with Aspire Financial Group, a small business entrepreneur and educator who also teaches both at George Brown and Humber College. Pierre is a results-driven financial planning sales management professional with over 30 years experience in the Canadian financial services industry. He also teaches future financial planners at various financial institutions in their journey to obtain their CFP designation. He is also very committed to give back to his community by being the chair of the Education Committee of the National Policy Alliance Canada, a leading African-Canadian nonprofit organization. So our second presenter is Jean Garraway. Jean is currently a mortgage agent with Dominion Lending Center. She has a Bachelor's of Commerce from York University. She is retired from the banking industry, where she spent over 30 years in various branch manager roles. Her last role was as a RBC branch manager in Oshawa. Her passion is to help individuals take charge of their credit. So as you see tonight, you guys are in good hands with two very established professionals. So now I'm going to hand it over to Pierre, who's going to give us some background on credit.
Thank you, Angèle. Thank you very much. So today we're going to talk about successful credit habits in terms to ensuring that you meet all of your personal and financial goals. So a bit of background on credit. So a great deal of personal finance experts will say that credit is about spending a lot of energy trying to prevent us from using credit cards, and with good reasons, because some of us unfortunately misuse credit. But many of us use credit and credit cards irresponsibly and unfortunately end up in debt. But however, contrary to popular belief, if you can use credit responsibly, you're actually better off paying with a credit card than with a debit card, because you can make your money work for you as opposed to work for somebody else. So we will be focusing on that a bit later on. Furthermore, credit can be defined as your borrowing reputation. Kind of paints a picture of your credit history, and your credit history kind of gives your lender or bank with information regarding your ability to repay the debt. In a way, it's your risk factor, and your risk factor is determined by your credit score. So before I get too carried away, I'm going to introduce you to Jean Garraway, who will talk to you about furthermore about credit background and really about the 5 C's of credit that a great deal of lenders and bankers will use to determine whether or not you are worthy of their particular loan. So I will pass it on to Jean. Jean, if you would like to unmute yourself.
Give me a little control so I can.
There you go.
How do I forward my screens? Have
Oh,
you
that's
given me
okay.
control?
Oh, no, that's fine.
Do it for me?
I'll do it for you.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. I've already been introduced, so I don't have to go over that again. Thank you, Angel. Today, I'd like to talk to you for a few slides before I pass it back over to Pierre on credit, right? So when we talk about credit, we really have to delve into something called the 5 C's of credit. I'm sure some of you might know about it. But when you talk about the 5 C's of credit, we're looking at things such as collateral, right? Your property type. If you're, looking for a mortgage, your location, the marketability of the property. We're looking at credit itself, which is your beacon score, your past credit history, capacity, capital, character. All those 5 things are, what we consider when we as lenders are considering giving credit to someone. So when you speak of the 5 C's of credit, it's really your credit scorecard, right? It has all your credit information on it. So your credit scorecard is mainly how financial institutions determine if they will extend credit to you or not. So who is Jean Garraway? Is she worthy, right? Let's look at her credit scorecard. Next slide. So let's look at capacity, one of the 5 C's. Capacity measures the borrower's ability to repay the loan by comparing your income with your debts, right? When someone says your debt load is too high, that's what they're talking about. So this arguably is the most critical C, since lenders look at your gross debt service ratio, and you will hear people talk about your GDSR, or your GDS for short, and your TDSR, which is your total debts, right? So your total debts that you pay on a monthly basis over your income that you make. And they use that to assess your total, don't move too fast on me here, your total ability to pay. Let's look at capacity. So the GDS is the percentage of your income that is needed to pay all required monthly housing costs. For example, if you're looking for a mortgage, your GDS has everything to do with what it takes to make payments on your house. So your principal, your interest, your taxes, right? And heat. So that should not exceed 32%. Standard. When you're looking at credit in the A market, if you go to a bank, that's what they look at, right? So your GDS should not be more than 32% of your monthly income. And what I'm speaking about is your gross monthly income, not your net, not your take home, okay? So your TDS is a percentage of your income that is needed to cover all your debts. So your GDS plus other debts, such as your car loan, stuff like that, your credit card bills, or your line of credit bills. So you add that to your GDS and you will get your TDS, and that should not be more than 40%, generally speaking, if you're at a bank, 40, 42. You can have stretch ratios up to 50% depending on the lender that you're dealing with, but then you're dealing with the B and the C lenders. Okay, next slide. Let's take a look at capital. Capital is the amount of money that an individual has invested in a property, otherwise now known as your down payment. It also refers to an individual's net worth, savings, or investments. Is the borrower adequately capitalized to withstand any income interruption? And before you move on, let me just spend a minute on this. A lot of people, when they're doing loan applications, and you take an application, you usually ask your client for your assets and your liabilities. Now, most people will love to tell you what their liabilities are, but I know when I used to be in banking, people used to be afraid to tell you how much money they have in RSPs or just investments. And that, my friend, is very important in determining your credit worthiness. And a lot of people, unfortunately, hide that and do not disclose that, and that can work against you. Okay, so think about that when you think of capital. Next. Character. This is one that is often overlooked because people are, some are probably thinking, what is my character? What does my character have to do with my credit worthiness? Now, character refers to a borrower's reputation on financial matters. Past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. And that is what most lenders subscribe to, such as your willingness to repay your debt. How willing are you to make sure you pay your bill on or before your payment due date? How honest and how reliable are you, right? Your employment history has to do with character. Do you, find a job every 6 months, or have you been on the job for 2 to 5 years? That is seen as being more stable. So you're looking at employment stability. Resident stability is also very important. A lot of people are not even aware of that. When you fill out an application, people usually want a 3-year residence history, because a person who is seen as moving every 6 months, 8 months, they're moving, having a different address, is seen as a person that does not display good character. So it says good lifestyle choices develop good character. Next. Collateral. So collateral can be thought of as additional security provided to the bank or the lender. So if you're buying a house, it would be your assets that would be pledged as security, your down payment. Lenders prefer secured versus unsecured credit. And the loan rates also tend to be lower for secured credit. So for example, if you were to go to the bank and you did not have any money saved, say you didn't have, a client, if you had 2 clients that were equal and one had no savings, the other one has $40,000 saved in either a TFSA, non-registered investment, or RRSPs, the banks will look more favorably on the client that has some sort of collateral and be more willing to give you, say, a line of credit in lieu of an unsecured loan, right? And you usually get far better rates, lower rates on secured credit, such as a home equity line of credit, which you can get at prime plus a half, will be about 2.95 right now, versus an unsecured credit, which can be anywhere from 6 to 33%, depending on who your lender is. So the quality of the collateral is also extremely important to a lender. Next. Now, credit background, the 5th C, credit score. Your credit score shows the bank or a lender a snapshot of how your repayment history has been over time. That's what your credit bureau is, okay? This is the main way that a bank or lender can predict your propensity to make future payment, which is what we call the ability to pay. The credit score is the primary measurement factor, and in Canada, we have Equifax and we have TransUnion. They're the 2 main credit bureau reporting agencies. So when we look at credit scores, we're looking at somewhere from about 300. I'm still yet to see someone with 300 credit score, and I've been in this business for a long time. But if your credit score is, say, 300 to 599, your credit obviously needs a little work, okay? If your credit score is 600 to 649, it's considered fair. At that point, you can get a mortgage, but you won't get the best rate, okay? When you're looking at the best rate, you're looking at good credit, which is above 650, and in some cases, some banks are looking at 680. When you have over 700, you're sailing. You have pretty good credit. The windows of heaven is open to you, and if you have 800 to 900, when you walk into a bank or you are negotiating with a lender, they take their hats off to you, okay? So it's very, very important, my friends, to think about your credit score and the 5 C's of credit when you are thinking of, climbing the ladder of success. Very, very important. To maintain your credit score. It really does open the door to, everything that good in life that life has to offer as far as credit is concerned. And at this point, I think I will take my curtsy and I will pass it back over to Pierre. You're on deck, Pierre.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you very much. Well done. All right.
At this time, just like to kind of play a little video.
Hey, hi, how can I help you? I want to take out a loan for $8,000. All right, let's get you started, Mr. Griffin. I'm just gonna run your credit. All right, cool. Hey, Romero, come here. What's up, man? Look, he won't loan. He won't loan.
So after that video, what we're hoping to do is that you're never caught in that particular situation whereby your credit score will deny you the ability to meet your particular goals and be financially secure. Our role here in terms of with my financial planning practice and with my various partners such as Jean is we're looking in terms of making individuals' goals come a reality so that you could fulfill all your dreams and aspirations. And credit is a big part of it. And some individuals kind of forget about that. So really today is to get a good understanding as to how to get to that 800 credit score level that Jean talks about, where the doors of heaven will open up to you. So not in any set order, but we're going to talk about 10 tips to kind of increase or to better your credit. So number one is not paying your debts late. The first step really to improving your credit is to pay your credit card, your line of credit balances, your loan balances on time, and making sure that you're not late, not even one day, since payment history is really the most important factor when ranking your credit score. Late payments will stay on your credit report for many, many years. So you want to build up that credit history over a long period of time. So you may even want to consider automating your monthly payments. And what I mean by automating your monthly payments is having a system whereby if your due date for your credit card is the 5th of the month, having it come out of your bank account automatically on the 5th of the month, at the very least, the minimum payment due. So that way you are never late. The system automatically takes out of your bank account the minimum payment due. Of course, I would love for you guys to pay more than the minimum, but as long as you meet the minimum required payments, your credit will not be impacted negatively, because we're looking at whether or not you have the character where you meet your obligations on time. So really, there are at least 2 reasons why you should never just pay the minimum on your cards, and because really it's a terrible way to pay off your credit cards. But at the very least, if you cannot make the full payment, I would strongly consider at least making the minimum payment. So paying just the minimum means even small debts will be just stretched out over many, many years, and you could pay or have excessive interest rates. So if the minimum again, if that's all you can manage, then make sure that you pay this at least every month like clockwork and never miss a payment, because missed payments or late payments are going to stay on your report, like I said, for a very long time. So we're looking at roughly about 7 years that it will take to kind of rebuild your credit history. So automate and make sure that you pay more than the minimum if possible. Now, if you're paying the minimum, I want to give you an example, all right, of the kind of excessive interest and fees that I kind of talked about. So think of it. If all you had was a credit card balance of about $2,000, right, and the rate of interest for the credit card is 18%. And I know most right now are in the vicinity of 20%, 19.9 and 24.9% for cash advance. But just going to give the banks and the lenders the benefit of the doubt. So if you could get a credit card with 18% and with a minimum payment, and typically it's minimum of 2%, 3%, or 5% of the balance, or $10, whichever is greater. And so let's assume that you're making your minimum payments. It will take you 370 months to pay it all off. 370 months or 30 years to pay that $2,000 balance if all you're doing is paying the minimum due. So that would you would end up paying more than twice the amount of the outstanding balance. So you would pay about $4,900 in interest and charges. That's 146% of just paying the minimum. So really, I would strongly suggest that you at least pay the minimum, but really pay more than the minimum so you could pay off that debt sooner rather than later. Third step, some people believe that by carrying a balance will, it will help to build your credit score. And you're kind of right in a way, but you don't want it to be excessive, right? Because credit reporting agencies such as Equifax and TransUnion, they dislike a high credit balance. Really, when you max out your credit, so if your credit limit is $2,000 or if your credit limit is $5,000 and you max it out, right, it will have a negative impact on your credit score. What the lenders use as a criteria is something called the credit utilization ratio. And really what they want to make sure is that you're not always maxed out. This ratio kind of measures how much of the total credit available that you have that is being used. So we're going to look at all of your credit cards. We're going to look at all of your lines of credit, and we're going to look at the credit limit and how much of that is being utilized. A good ratio, good rule of thumb is that you should look to keep your credit ratio at below 30%, right? So for example, what I mean by 30%, so let's assume that I have 2 credit cards, and each cards have a credit limit of $5,000. So and I carry a balance of $2,000 on one card and $1,000 on the other card. In this situation, my credit utilization would be the 30% suggested maximum. So how did I come about this? My total credit limit is $10,000, $5,000 on card number 1 and $5,000 on card number 2. My total debt or my total balance is $3,000. So that's $2,000 on one card and $1,000 on the other card. So my total debt of $3,000 divided by my total credit limit of $10,000 gives me a 30% credit utilization. So would want you to try to stay within that 30% or below to kind of maximize your your credit score. Okay. And you could stop me at any time. One of the things I wanted to say is trying to make this as interactive as possible. So if you have questions, please stop me, put in the chat, or just raise your hands, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. At the end, we do have a question and answer, but if it's a pressing matter, by all means, please stop me at any time during the presentation. So pay down your balances as often as you possibly can. You don't necessarily have to wait until the due date to pay it off. Just if you have the money, you may want to consider pay it off more often, so you could stay within that 30% credit utilization rate. Now, just remember, the credit card issuers, right? They report their balances to the credit bureau on a monthly basis. So you want to make sure that they report a lower balance on a monthly basis. So just be cognizant of that particular fact. All right. 4, right? Keeping your old credit cards open to maintain the longer history. Some people are apt to get rid of their old cards and getting new cards, not knowing that this may be a hindrance to their credit score. So you really want to consider the few reasons why you should keep your old credit cards open, because it will benefit your credit score. One of the reason is that the length of your credit history, the greater the length. So if you've had a card for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, the length, and if you've paid it on time on a regular basis, this will account for about 10% of your credit score compared to new credit application. So this is really important for older cards because they kind of give you a longer record, and this is extremely good for your credit score. So if you want to, if you're considering canceling old credit cards in good standing, don't really try to keep it, and even if you rarely use them, keep it, because it kind of builds that credit history. And you may want, even if you use it not as often as you would like, you may want to use them every now and then just to show some activity, right? So that it is active. So active credit cards or active applications are looked at more favorably. So you want to maybe put a gas charge, $30-$40, and then pay it off in full. Just show some activity for your old credit cards. So remember, canceling old lines of credit and credit cards may lower your total credit limit, and it may also hurt your credit utilization, right? So if I went back to the other example that I've used with your total credit limit of 10,000, if you were to cancel one of the credit cards, so now your total credit limit would be 5,000, and you would have a $3,000 debt outstanding, your credit utilization will jump from 30% to 60%, and that will negatively impact your credit score. So consider, I'm not asking you to to really have a lot of credit cards, because a lot of the questions that individuals will pose, well, Pierre, how many credit cards should I have? How much is too many? What I normally say is having a couple of credit cards would be extremely helpful. More than two, there's got to be a good reason, and it's not just for for the points, because I don't know if you realize, but the points and the rewards that you're chasing, you're actually paying for it one way or another. So those air miles that I like to chase at Shell gas station, you're kind of paying for it sometimes, because maybe the gas price at that particular gas station will be higher than the other gas stations that do not provide air miles. So you want to maybe keep a couple of credit cards handy. More than two, could be maybe asking for trouble. Yes, Nupur, go for it. Go for it. If you have a question, you could unmute yourself.
Professor, but these credits get recorded with the institutions like TransUnion and another one, I'm unable to recall the name.
Equifax.
Correct. If the data isn't record with them, will it still matter if we close our old credit cards? Because if we keep our old credit cards open, and even if we use it rarely, so what about the yearly charges? Will that not be an extra?
So that would be an extra charge. I'm not a big fan of annual fees. I try not to pay any annual fees. So there are a lot of cards, gold cards, even platinum cards, that do not charge an annual fee, but there are a lot of premium cards, right? Like the RBC Avion Visa, they charge a yearly fee for the first user and an additional fee for the other user. Now you've got to do that cost benefit analysis. Is the points that you're receiving on an annual basis, do they pay for that annual fee? If the answer is no, then maybe you want to look at another credit card. So I'm a strong proponent of no fee credit cards. There's a lot of gold credit cards that are no fee, and they will provide you with all the insurances that you need when you're renting a car, such as the collision damage and waiver. And they will also provide you, some of them, with trip cancellation insurance. And again, all at no fees. My team, we've compiled a list of credit cards and all the features and some of the best credit cards to have. So at the end, we would be more than willing to share those informations with the rest of you. So the main thing that I just want to make sure is that keeping old credit cards on, or lines of credits on, is actually a good thing towards your maintaining a high credit score. All right, hope that answered. Perfect. All right, so now 5, not monitoring your credit score. I have been I've had my identity stolen a few times, and now I have a system whereby I have a credit monitoring system, right, where they monitor for me my credit, just to make sure that nobody has been applying or trying to impersonate me. So you don't have to go to that degree, but you want to maybe maintain your credit score, because there are errors that could happen. In my case, some lady in a remote town in Quebec was trying to obtain a credit card many years ago under my name, and the good thing that happened was the teller in that remote branch in the province of Quebec asked a few questions and asked that particular individual, why if you're living in Ontario, in Whitby, Ontario, why are you opening an account here in Quebec? And the lady did not have an answer for that, and she quickly left. And then I got a call later on to say, you know, have I been trying to obtain credit in Quebec? And I said, as much as I love the province of Quebec, no, I was not looking to obtain credit. So you want to keep tabs on your credit report, right? Because a lot of times there could be some errors. It doesn't have to be to that extent where someone is trying to impersonate you, trying to steal your identity, but it could be that, you know, the bank has made a mistake. They said that you were late a couple of times on your payments when you weren't, and then that could be easily rectified by, you know, calling your bank, by keeping an eye on your credit report, calling your bank and saying, hey, that's not true. I've always paid my bills on time. And then your bank will verify and then say, yeah, Pierre, you're right, my mistake. And then we'll send a correction to the to Equifax or TransUnion next month. So one of the good things to note is that you are entitled to one free yearly credit report from TransUnion and Equifax. And I've kind of given here the links to Equifax and TransUnion. The good thing now is that Equifax and TransUnion, they kind of change as a result of government regulations. That yearly report, that free credit report that you are entitled to, will now also have your credit score. Right? Before, it did not have your credit score. Now it will have your credit score. You're entitled to one free one, and then after that, if you need another one, then you will have to pay. Minimum is I think $19.95 at TransUnion, but the yearly free one should suffice. I strongly suggest that you monitor your credit score from both, not just Equifax, but also TransUnion. Give you a reason, a reason why you should do both. Not because Equifax says that you've got perfect credit, that the same thing will show on TransUnion. The banks and lenders, they each have their favorite credit reporting agencies. Most of the banks and lenders, mortgage lenders like Gene at Dominion Lending, they will use Equifax. But Gene will remember that in our days, when we were both working at RBC in the East End, RBC uses TransUnion. So if RBC has erroneous information on TransUnion and you checked only Equifax, then you will not know. It will only come about when you're trying to obtain credit at RBC and then they deny you, and then you've got to go through all of that legwork yourself. Next, now, if your credit is bruised, or if it's in the fair category and you want to kind of bump it up to the next category, if you have a trusted friend or, let's say, family member, you could consider they could consider having you as an authorized user on their credit card or credit facility. As an authorized user, right, it doesn't mean that they're giving you a credit card and that you could go and start spending up to their credit limit. Basically, what you're doing is you're taking advantage of your trusted friend or family member's good credit score. So now their credit score that they have on that credit card, right, or their credit history on that credit card will now become your credit history going forward. So that could improve your credit score significantly and immediately. But also, you want to be certain, right, that your trusted friend and family members have a good credit history, because if they don't have a good credit history, well, then their credit history will now become your credit history, right? So it will negatively impact you also. So becoming an authorized user, right, so will help boost your credit score if you have if your credit score is in the fair type of category. Also, having a variety of credit accounts, right, will also help. What do I mean by a variety of credit accounts? What I mean is to have maybe not just credit cards, but maybe have also installment loans. So by installment loans, I mean personal loans, right? Car loans, lines of credit, and mortgages. Having a variety. I'm not advocating just going out there, just getting loans, credit cards, loans, lines of credits. But if you have a credit need, then by having a variety of credit card facilities or credit card accounts will also help boost your credit score, because it will show your ability, right? If you're doing it properly, it will show the lender and also the credit reporting agency your ability to manage not just credit cards, but all different credit facilities. And that ultimately, it shows that you're an extremely good borrower. By having a variety of credit facilities or credit accounts could increase your score or impact your score by as much of by 10%. Again, I'm not advocating just going out there getting credit for the sake of getting credit. All right, good. 8, avoid applying for new credit whenever possible. If you already have a credit card that you've had for a long period of time, there's not necessarily a need to open a new credit card unless it's absolutely necessary. New credit application account for 10% of your score. So if you apply a great deal number of times, right? So you're applying here, you're applying there, you're applying for the Avion card, you're applying for the CIBC Aerogold card, and hoping whichever one comes first, that's the one that you're going to get. Don't do that, because every time you do that, you'll have a hard inquiry on your report, and it will count as a hit. It will show that you are a credit seeker and will have a negative impact on your score. Again, I'm not telling you not to borrow. If it's absolutely necessary to borrow, to take a new credit card, please do so. But if not, then if you want to keep your credit score up, you may want to avoid applying for new credit. One of the things that our financial team that we do is that we take kind of a holistic view of all of your needs, so even your credit needs. So we will anticipate, in the future what your credit needs will be, and we will provide you with the credit facility now that will last a lifetime, which will avoid the need to apply for new credit every year or every few years. Okay. 9, consolidate your debt. Right. I see a lot of individuals that have 3 or 4 credit cards that are max, and that they're paying just the minimum. Right. And if you're having a hard time paying the minimum. I've showed you what paying the minimum on just $2,000, what the impact would be if you're just paying the minimum payment on a credit card that has a $2,000 balance at an 18% interest rate. It's going to take you 30 years to pay it off. So imagine if the number is even bigger. So really, what I would suggest or recommend that people do is find a low interest credit card or a line of credit or even a consolidation loan to basically pay down your credit card and consolidate your credit card. It will save you thousands and thousands of dollars in interest by doing that, right? So that $2,000 loan $2,000 credit card at 18%, if we put that into, even a 7% loan, you're saving more than half in terms of interest costs. So really, for this strategy to pan out, if you're going to use one of those balance transfer funds that many banks or many credit cards use, whereby you don't have to pay interest when you're transferring the balance from one card to another for typically 6 months. It could be interest free or 0.9% interest for the first year or 9 months. You really want to take advantage of that 6 month to 12-month deferral to start to pay it down. And maybe after the 12 month, if you are not able to to pay more than the minimum, then consider a personal loan at a reasonable rate to basically pay off your existing credit cards. Number 10, getting a secured credit card. Again, if you have, let's say, no history or a poor history, one of the things that you could do to build history, because it's hard to imagine, but having no history is probably worse than having a poor credit history. I just saw today that the U.S. are taking steps to not penalize individuals with no credit history. They're taking steps to look at other factors to allow them to have to obtain credit facilities because the U.S. realizes that a way to get out of this COVID situation is to start spending, and spending may require a lot for big ticket items to have credit. Unfortunately, in Canada, we're not as advanced as our neighbors from down south, whereby at this moment having no credit or poor credit is just as bad. So this could be significant for new immigrants who are coming into the country. Unfortunately, we're not taking your credit history from your home country and bring it here. So you're starting brand new in Canada, or even if you're a student, right? You probably don't have a credit history. So a secure credit card, really what it is, it's a way that it kind of gives collateral to the bank. So you're going to put down a deposit with a bank, such as with a GIC, and it's going to secure the amount of credit that the bank or lender is extending you. So really, what do I mean? I mean, for example, if you're looking to have a credit card with a limit of $1,000, your lender may ask you to deposit $1,000 in a GIC, right? So that way it will secure the credit card. It doesn't mean that you don't have to make payments, right? You still have to make payments, but it will start to build your credit score. And remember, you still want to pay on time your your credit card, your credit cards, if it's secured or not secured. Don't think that because they have $1,000 on deposit somewhere that I don't have to make payments. They'll just take money from my $1,000. No, they're not going to take any money from your security until you go delinquent for about 60 days or 90 days. So, and that will again negatively impact your credit score. So you want to treat it just like a regular credit card. Pay it off in full if you can, but at the very least, you want to pay the minimum due on your credit card. All right. Bonus. How to use good credit to your advantage. So we looked at the top 10, right? Or my top 10. Others may have different, but those were my top 10. How to use good credit to your advantage. So that would be maybe tip number 11, right? Really, the way to make money, or a lot of wealthy individuals have made money in the past, is that they use other people's money to make money, not using your own money to make money. So while most people, right, use credit, right, to buy stuff, consumerism, right, to make you feel happy, to give you that immediate or instant gratification, right, of buying a new car, buying a boat, going on vacation. The rich, on the other hand, they don't do that. They use other people's money, right, like the banks or other lenders, to create wealth, right? And then you get to that notion of good credit, or sorry, good debt versus bad debt from an investment perspective. Bad debt, right, is typically used for consumer goods that we cannot afford. Good debt is used to leverage an asset that we cannot afford a loan for, but is used instead to generate money, more money back. So really what we're doing is borrowing to invest. And borrowing to invest allows you, gives you the ability, right, to invest in a non-registered account, to invest in a non-registered product. So by non-registered, what I mean, anything outside of an RSP, TFSA, RESP, LIFs, and so on, RIFs, all of that. If you were to borrow to invest, rental property, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, the annual interest that you pay for the loan may be tax deductible. So your after-tax costs could be minimal. Furthermore, a lot of you like to invest, to buy stocks, right, through your brokerage account at either Wealthsimple or Questrade, or in my case, TD Waterhouse. You can buy stocks on margin. Basically, you're borrowing from the broker. You're borrowing from TD Waterhouse, RBC Direct Investing, Questrade, or Wealthsimple. I'm not sure if Wealthsimple has a margin account. I haven't looked, but I know that Questrade does have margin accounts. So instead of putting all of your own money and buying a particular stock, the broker will lend you up to 70% of the value of the security. And all you need to do is to put down 30%, right? It's almost like buying a house, right? As a first-time home buyer, you're putting down a minimum of 5% down, and then the lender is going to lend you 95% of the value of the property. You're using their money to make money. And I've kind of said that it's this strategy works well as long as it's not for an RSP, TFSA, or RESP, because you could deduct the interest. But it also would work well if you're going to borrow to invest in an RRSP, a lot of individuals have RRSP contribution room in the hundreds of thousands. And that is because they're not able to maximize their RRSP contribution on an annual basis. So eventually they'll never be able to catch up all of that lost contribution room. But by having an RSP loan, a lot of banks will allow you to borrow, some of them up to 50,000, others up to 100,000, depending on your capacity, to catch up the RSP contribution that you were not have been able to make for the past 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And even though the interest is not tax deductible like we did for the non-registered account, you are going to generate a significant refund from this large RSP contribution. And with that refund that you have generated, you could use that to significantly pay down the RRSP loan, and maybe even make another RSP contribution for the following year. And typically, these loans, these RSP catch-up loans, you could spread them over 10 years. So your payment is not that big. It is more manageable, and you could have that paid off in 10 years or less. Typically, by paying it down significantly, it could take you less than 5 years to pay it off. But all of these strategies that we've talked about borrowing to investing, for rental income, you need good credit to take advantage of these great strategies. And without good credit, you'll be shut out of having the ability to borrow to invest. So I don't want you to be like this guy.
Hey, hi, how can I help you? I wanted to take out a loan for $8,000. All right, let's get you started, Mr. Griffin. I'm just gonna run your credit. All right, cool. Hey, Romero, come here. What's up, man? Look, he won't alone. He won't alone.
So again, don't want you to be that guy. So by following those healthy guides or tips that we've provided, you won't be put in this particular predicament. So at this juncture, if you guys have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Professor, I have a question.
Sure.
Like, Professor, for people who are new, for example, students, there are some cities like Toronto doesn't allows the people without PR to have home, but city like Ottawa, it does allows the immigrants who are not holding the PR to purchase home. So in such scenario, for new students, like we only get a credit card for with a limit of $500. So for suppose I have that credit card for 3-4 years, I only have that credit card, and in the 5th year I plan to buy a house. So how can bank just make out that if I'm worth of like lending the mortgage or not?
So with that, so it doesn't really matter if it's a $500 credit card or a $10,000 credit card. What we're credit card limit, what they'll be looking at is even with that $500 credit card as a student, and we know, we have this idea of students being irresponsible, and kind of knowing you that you're not irresponsible, your credit score should be, in the good to very good or maybe excellent. If you have that as a student, it will look positively on you in terms of obtaining a mortgage. Having one card or two cards will be sufficient to show to lenders that you have been responsible in managing credit, and you, as long as you have the capacity to make your mortgage payments, as Gene has pointed out with the GDSR and the TDSR, and you are employed, then you shouldn't have any issues in terms of securing a mortgage. It's when your credit is bruised, for lack of a word, and you don't have the capacity, maybe you're not working or you're not earning a lot, that you're able to make the payments. That's when it gets a bit tricky. But when it comes to that, there's my good friend Gene Garraway. When it's going to get to that point, I'll make an introduction to Gene, and she has many years of experience for mortgages for new immigrants to existing, and she'll give you tips in terms of how to either build your credit or how to successfully obtain a mortgage. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Oh, that means you did a great job here.
I don't know about that. Either they're asleep. I put them to sleep, or they're overwhelmed with the information. So anyway, I like to thank Jean for her help with this with the presentation. We will make this this presentation or webinar available on our YouTube channel. So you could always tell a friend, or if you've missed something, you could always go back and review. And if you've got, again, any questions, my team and I, with Malika and myself, will be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have, big or small, whatever you may have. But by all means, please feel free to contact us. Malika and I will be having short in the near future a investment seminar where we're going to focus more on investments. All right. Thank you, Astrid, for your comment. Okay. Well, we're going to be cognizant of everyone's time. I thank you, Malika. I want to take the time for thanking everyone for showing up today. And again, if you have any questions, look for more webinars that'll be coming your way. Really, how to use other people's money to make money. We're going to be focusing on that, and on the investment side, and also about financial planning. So once again, I'd like to thank Jean Garraway for her assistance with this presentation. Also my partner Angèle Williams for her brilliant introduction, and also my Malika as a member of my team. So thank you again, guys, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now. Bye, Evaristo. Bye, Natasha. All right, I will end. Bye, everybody.